A black boy calls a billionaire and says his daughter is unconscious on the street. In the middle of a crowded city, 10-year-old Malik knelt beside a pale girl who wasn't breathing right. Strangers passed, some whispering it was probably another overdose, others shaking their heads as if she wasn't worth stopping for. But Malik didn't move. He tilted her head back, clutching her cracked phone, and dialed the number flashing on the screen. Dad. When Richard Callahan, one of the wealthiest men in the country, answered, his first words cut like ice. "Is this a scam?" Yet the boy's trembling voice carried something no con could fake. And within minutes, a black car screeched to the curb. Before we go any further, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Now let's begin. The late afternoon sun had already begun to dip, painting the edges of the city with a golden haze. The streets were still alive with hurried footsteps, horns, and the faint hum of people chasing their evening trains. Nobody noticed the girl at first. She was just another body on the edge of the sidewalk, slumped, pale, barely moving. People walked past her like she was invisible. A couple of businessmen glanced down and kept going, shaking their heads as if she was just another drunk. But one pair of eyes stopped. A boy, small, maybe no older than 10, stood at the corner in an oversized hoodie that looked borrowed from someone twice his size. His sneakers were worn, frayed at the edges, and his backpack hung lopsided across his shoulders. He had been on his way back from running an errand, clutching a half-empty juice box, when he noticed her. Something in the stillness of her body pulled him closer. He hesitated. His heart thudded fast. People usually ignored him on these streets, or worse, assumed the worst about him. He had been told before, "Mind your business, kid." But this didn't feel like something he could ignore. The boy crouched beside her. Up close, she was younger than he thought, barely a teenager, with pale skin, light hair tangled across her cheek, and lips that had lost their color. Her chest rose faintly, shallow, uneven. His small hand trembled as he reached out, remembering something he'd seen once on TV. "Tilt the head back. Check if she was breathing," he whispered under his breath. "Don't quit, just breathe." Around him, life carried on. A couple of strangers muttered as they walked past. Probably another overdose. Kids these days, wasting their lives. They didn't know she was the daughter of a man whose name could buy half the street they walked on. To them, she was just another fallen figure on the pavement. Then the boy spotted it, her phone, screen cracked but still glowing faintly with a missed call notification. The name flashed bold across it. Dad. He froze. His throat tightened. Should he? Would anyone even believe him? He looked at the crowd, then back at her. Nobody else was stopping. Nobody else cared. With shaky fingers, he picked up the phone. It was heavier than he expected, cold against his palm. He swallowed, wiped his hand against his hoodie, and pressed the number. A dial tone, a voice answering, deep, powerful, almost impatient. The boy's voice cracked as he whispered into the phone. "Sir, your daughter. She's on the ground. She's not waking up." The line crackled faintly, and then came the kind of voice that made people sit straighter without knowing why. Deep, controlled, impatient. "Who is this?" The boy gripped the phone tighter. His thumb rubbed nervously against the cracked glass. He stammered. His words tangled. "Sir, your daughter. She's on the street. She isn't moving. She's not waking up." There was silence on the other end. The kind of silence that wasn't empty but heavy, like someone trying to measure every word. Then the voice came back, sharper this time. "Is this some kind of trick? Do you know who you're calling?" The boy's chest tightened. His first instinct was to hang up, but he looked back at the girl's faintly rising chest. He forced himself to keep speaking, though his voice shook. "I don't want anything. I swear. Please just come. She needs you." A couple walking by slowed down, catching sight of the boy crouched over the girl with the phone pressed to his ear. They exchanged whispers loud enough for him to catch. Probably calling his friends, setting up a scam. Yeah, that's how they do it, distract you while the others come around. The boy squeezed his eyes shut for a second, fighting the heat rising in his face. He wanted to yell that they were wrong, but he didn't. He stayed with the girl. On the other end, the billionaire's suspicion lingered. He had heard every scam imaginable. Fake kidnappings, fake ransoms, fake emergencies. His world was one where trust was a luxury. And yet something about the boy's voice carried a raw urgency no con artist could fake. The billionaire's tone shifted, ever so slightly. Where are you? The boy quickly rattled off the cross streets, glancing around to make sure he got them right. His heart pounded with every second. He could hear the girl's faint breath faltering uneven. Her hand twitched once, then went still again. Stay there, the billionaire ordered. The line went dead. The boy lowered the phone slowly, his small chest rising and falling too fast. Around him, more people passed. Some looked, most didn't. One man shook his head and muttered, "Poor kid, don't even know what he's getting into." But the boy stayed kneeling, one hand hovering protectively over the unconscious girl, as if shielding her from a world too busy to notice. In the distance, faint but growing louder, came the sound of tires slicing through the street, fast, purposeful, closing in. The sound of an engine tearing down the street grew closer, sharper, until a sleek black car came into view. Its glossy surface caught the fading sunlight, reflecting it like a blade. It swerved to the curb with a controlled screech that made heads turn. Doors opened in swift, practiced motion. First came two men in dark suits, scanning the scene with eyes that missed nothing. And then, emerging from the back seat, was a tall white man in a tailored navy suit. His presence pulled attention instantly. The kind of man you didn't mistake for anyone else. The billionaire. He didn't rush. He strode forward, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement, his gaze locking on the boy. For a moment, his face hardened, suspicion sharpened into something close to anger. To him, it looked like what he feared, his daughter's body in the hands of a stranger. The boy raised both hands quickly, the phone still in his grip, his voice breaking. I didn't hurt her. I just stayed. His knees trembled, but he didn't back away. The billionaire dropped to the ground beside his daughter, his guarded mask cracking when he saw her pale face. Emily, his voice caught softer, stripped of authority. He touched her wrist, searching for a pulse. It was there, weak, faint, but there. One of the bodyguards muttered, "Sir, medics are on the way." And then, from the corner, the paramedics finally pushed through the crowd with their red bags and stretchers. But before they took over, the boy spoke up, his words tumbling out fast. She was breathing strange. I tilted her head, like on TV, so her airway was clear. I kept her like that. The paramedics checked quickly, nodding to each other. One said firmly, "Good job, kid. You might have saved her from choking." The billionaire froze at those words. His eyes shifted from the paramedic to the boy. His face, so used to dismissing strangers, softened in a way even his guards noticed. But he said nothing. He just stepped back as the medics lifted his daughter onto the stretcher, attaching monitors, murmuring updates to one another. The boy stayed kneeling on the pavement, dirt smeared across his hoodie. People around him whispered again, this time differently. "That's the billionaire's kid, isn't it? Wait, did that boy save her?" Doesn't look like much, but... The billionaire's gaze lingered. For the first time in years, he didn't know how to play someone. Not a threat, not a beggar, not a scammer. Just a child who hadn't walked away when everyone else did. As the stretcher rolled toward the ambulance, the billionaire followed, his hand hovering over his daughter's arm. But when he glanced back, his eyes met the boy's again. This time, he didn't look away. The hospital air was cold, almost sterile, humming with the faint buzz of fluorescent lights. The billionaire paced the waiting room like a man trapped between walls closing in, His polished shoes clicked across the tiles, then stopped, then clicked again. Each pause carried the weight of helplessness, a feeling he was unaccustomed to. The boy sat on a plastic chair against the wall, legs swinging nervously above the floor. His hoodie sleeves were pulled over his hands, and every so often he'd glance toward the double doors where the medics had wheeled the girl away. He didn't speak. He didn't fidget. He just waited. Two women near the vending machine whispered, their voices carrying despite the hush of the room. "That's him, the billionaire, right? Always in the papers." "And that kid, didn't he find the girl? Funny how life works, huh?" The boy heard them. He lowered his eyes, shoulders shrinking as though their words were too heavy for him. Minutes bled into what felt like hours until finally, the doors opened. A doctor stepped out, mask still hanging loose around his neck, fatigue written across his face. The billionaire was on him instantly. "How is she?" "She's stable," the doctor said firmly. Relief surged through the room, like a quiet ripple. If she hadn't been kept in position until we got to her, it could have been far worse. Whoever did that bought her the time she needed. The billionaire's gaze cut sideways. His eyes landed on the boy, still sitting small and silent in his chair. The truth sank deeper. This child, a stranger, had done what an entire city block ignored. The billionaire walked toward him, slow, deliberate. The boy straightened in his seat, clutching the hem of his hoodie. He whispered, almost apologizing, "I just didn't want her to die alone." The billionaire stopped. Those words pierced through layers of pride and suspicion he didn't even know he carried. His chest tightened, his throat dry. For the first time in a long time, he felt something that wasn't control. It was humility. Around them, the room had gone quiet, people watching the unlikely pair. A man with everything, and a boy with nothing but courage. The billionaire didn't speak yet. He simply sat down, lowering himself into the chair beside the boy. His eyes stayed fixed on the double doors, but his presence was different now. Not towering, not dismissive. Side by side, they waited in silence. Two lives tethered by one girl's breath. When the doors opened again, this time it wasn't the doctor who emerged. It was the billionaire's daughter, propped up on a rolling bed, her skin still pale but her eyes awake, blinking against the light. Relief cracked across the billionaire's face like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. He gripped her hand the moment he was allowed near, his voice low, trembling in a way his boardrooms never heard. "You're safe now," he whispered, but his gaze shifted, drawn back to the boy lingering at the edge of the room. The boy sat small in the corner, half hoping to disappear, half afraid to. His eyes darted between the girl and the man, ready to slip out unnoticed. The billionaire stood. He cleared his throat, and the quiet room turned toward him. With deliberate steps, he crossed to the boy. Then, surprising everyone, he knelt down to eye level. His suit creased, his polished shoes scuffed against the hospital floor, but he didn't care. "This boy," the billionaire said, voice firm but carrying an edge of reverence, "is the reason my daughter is alive." The whispers came quickly. "He saved her. That kid. Didn't expect that." Reporters who had slipped into the hall scribbled notes, cameras flashing discreetly. The billionaire didn't stop them. For once, he wanted the world to see. The boy's lips parted, but no words came. His small hands tugged at the sleeves of his hoodie, uncertain how to hold the weight of such attention. The billionaire reached out, placing a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. "You will never be forgotten," he said quietly, meant only for him, but loud enough for others to feel. The final image etched itself into every eye that watched. The billionaire's daughter smiling faintly from her bed, her father kneeling before a boy who had nothing to his name but courage, and yet had given them everything. And that's how a small boy's courage changed a billionaire's world forever. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next one. And if you believe acts of kindness, no matter how small, can change lives. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today.